Yes, indeed. Good evening. Yes, that was what I said, and that is how the process works. So what happens is that I now write to the Speaker with a report on the events and then also a recommendation. In the House, I already indicated that I will recommend that the Speaker considers whether these members should not be referred to the Powers and Privileges Committee.
How many members are we talking in total?
It's quite a few. I think in the region of 10 plus members, because there were a number of members on the virtual platform, and that will also be part of the report.
Yeah. And based on what has happened, Deputy Speaker, where did the problem start for you? For viewers who may not have seen that session, what prompted EFF members of Parliament to behave in that fashion in the first place?
It's difficult to pinpoint exactly what caused it, but there were different points of order. I think the first instance was one of the members who posed a question. Time had expired. And in terms of the rules, when the presiding officer indicates to you that your time has expired, that is it. And then you stop speaking. But unfortunately, this member went on and disregarded the authority of the presiding officer. And then I have a recourse to caution the member and then to remove the member. So that was the first instance. Then there was the issue of the two protectors that were in the venue. I was informed by the parliamentary staff that that was a part of the gallery. I also undertook that I will further investigate the matter. And then there were just absolutely a litany of spurious points of order raised, which disrupted the proceedings. And that is the main problem, was the disruption by the members and not allowing other members to do their duty.
We'll come back to the behavior of the EFF MPs. The two protectors you mentioned, who did those belong to? Were they the bodyguards of the president, or were they bodyguards of the deputy president?
That I also inquired, as I said, in the House, and I was informed that the one was the bodyguard of the deputy president and the other of the president.
Are they allowed to be there in the first place?
They're not allowed if it's in the House, but in the gallery, and that is the information that I got, and that is why I also said that I will undertake to look into this matter, because that part was not clearly demarcated. So yes, that, granted, is not the ideal situation, but you must also understand that we now sit in a situation where we don't have our Parliament building. We are now in the Good Hope Chamber, which is quite small, and lots of people have to be accommodated. So we do have challenges in that regard.
So based on your response regarding this, you're suggesting that these bodyguards may not have known that they're not supposed to be in the chamber?
That could be possible. That is why I said I will look into the matter. So I cannot make any assumptions on their regard.
All right. Let's go back to the conduct of EFF MPs. They've been here before. I believe there was a sanction of them losing a month's salary in a previous parliament. What will the possible consequences be if indeed the matter, if they lose yet another battle in terms of their conduct in the chamber?
The sanctions are imposed in terms of the legislation. So that's the powers, privileges and immunities of members of parliament and of the different legislatures. And it's very specific what the kind of sanction may be. It's on a scale from a reprimand going up to being suspended for a month from parliamentary activities, as well as losing out on a month's salary. But that will be up to the committee to decide. One can't preempt that, but it's a possibility.
Yeah. I want to go back to your words and that of the president right towards the end on Tuesday. It was just before 5 p.m. And you made comments to the effect that this is a disservice to South Africans who would have been looking forward to the president responding to some of the pressing issues that the country faces, and the president himself saying that he feels abused. What do you believe is the takeaway by members of society watching their representatives behave in that way?
I think, as I also said in the House, this is a disservice. We are responsible, we are representatives of the people, the voters out there. And it's not good enough if this is what Parliament is, if this is the kind of behavior that members display. We are not doing our jobs if we're doing that. And it goes to more than just, a bit of disruption. This goes about the respect for the dignity and the decorum of the House, but even more than that, a respect for the structures of Parliament. All of these members took an oath when they were sworn in that they would uphold the Constitution and the country's laws. Now, it was very clear that they did not exercise that oath on that day, because that means that there must be mutual respect. There must be respect for the House, for the rules, for the legislation, for the President, for the presiding officers, and most of all for other members as well. Because what happened now is that a number of members were denied the opportunity to pose questions to the President. And that is a disservice to the public.
And someone sitting at home is probably asking themselves the question, is the South African Parliament worthy of respect if people they look to, these are lawmakers that do these things. These are people who set the laws that we, ordinary citizens, have to abide by if indeed they are ultimately passed by Parliament. That kind of behavior, does it endear members of public to the House?
It's a tragedy because I don't think it does. I think it is really the tragedy of South African politics at this point, and it has been happening now for a couple of years. You referred to previous matters. This is not what the public and the voters out there deserve. As you say, we are legislators. We have a responsibility. That should be our first responsibility, not to disrupt the House. You have time to make your arguments, to do it, partake in a debate. You may pose your questions, and everyone has that opportunity. By disrupting and preventing other people from doing that, and in the way that the disruption happens, is honestly, I can understand if the public is sceptic about the Parliament.
Final question, Deputy Speaker. There were suggestions, in fact it was from the leader of the party, Mr. Julius Malema, who was on the virtual platform, making comments to the effect that you may not necessarily be a neutral arbiter here. The Speaker, regardless of which party you come from, must exercise neutrality when they sit at the seat that you occupy. Do you believe that you did things by the book? And what do you make of these accusations, therefore?
I'm quite convinced that I did everything by the book, in terms of the rules, Rule 69, in terms of the Powers and Privileges Act, in terms of a number of rules. So I am quite convinced and sure that I acted according to the rules and the legislation. And the question of bias, the bias is in the eye of the beholder. If a party feels aggrieved, there are processes in Parliament that they can follow, that those matters can be addressed. So it happens often that whenever you make a ruling against a specific person or party, that they say that you are biased. But I think my feeling is, up to now, that I have ruled against members of any party, regardless. It's all about the behavior of the particular member at that particular time.